Hey everybody, James chopping. Love my pups. Love my pups and my breeder supply. I've done a number of videos over the years on how to AI a Frenchie or AI a dog in general, but I thought I'd do another one because I've changed things a little bit. So really a revisit of the old stuff, but a few maybe little extra kind of tricks in there. Okay, so this is a girl. She is a very pretty girl. We actually produced her. She's one of my customers, bought her here about 1.5 years ago. She is, this is Peaches, and she is a blue with full tan points, carries a copy of chocolate, carries a copy of cream, no brindle. And she carries, I think she carries a copy of pie. I don't quite remember.
She's small too.
She's a small dog. That's exactly right. Very good, Russ. She's a small dog. Well, she probably weighs 18 pounds. And so she's never had puppies before. This is going to be her first time. But just to kind of talk about her for a little bit, I mean, I really like her structure. She's got a nice short tail. She doesn't have a long back. She's got short legs. Got a really nice head. Got a really sensible ear set. This is actually came from Channing's. This is my stud who produced her. Doesn't have crazy huge bat ears that some of these dogs I see I think have too much ear. But she's a really nice little dog. Okay, so we already collected semen. This is ready to go. This was actually, she got inseminated yesterday, and she was very open. And yesterday was the day to do it. But I always do 2 breedings, so I'm going to do a second one today. So this is the semen's ready to go. We did a test on her with the Target test kit. And we did that, and we breed when it's gone white, and it was white yesterday. So the day before, it was actually a little bit of blue. Yesterday we tested, it was white. So that was one breeding is probably enough, but we're just going to do a second one just to make sure. This product here, available from targetvet.com. It's $142 with 2-day shipping for 12 tests. So it's about $12 a test. Get the results in about 10 minutes. You do have to draw blood to use this test, but I use the crud out of these tests. I swear by them. It really works well. So you can take control of the whole process. You can take control of when to breed the dog, and you can physically do the breeding itself. So let's get on with this, because it's going to take us a good 20 to 30 minutes to get this whole thing done. And I can talk some more as we get this done. All right. So the first thing is I'm going to, she's already been outside, had an opportunity to pee. So we let her go outside and play around for a little bit. She's a little bit nervous in here because she's never been in this house before, and she's not my dog, although she was my puppy, so she doesn't really know me. But yeah, most of the time dogs are absolutely fine with this. Okay, so what are we going to do? So the first thing is we're going to just generally clean off her vulva. So there's the anus. We're not going to be doing anything with that. We're going to clean it. And by the way, there is a sensible color for a dog that's ready to be bred. You can see that there's a little tinge of blood to it. It's mostly clear. This discharge color by itself is not a true indicator of when a dog is ready, but certainly this is what you'd expect to see. This dog is at day 13, was bred at day 11, and is now going to be bred again on day 13. And that is also very sensible. Most dogs are bred between day 11 and day 13. So this, the color of the discharge, we could put her with a male and see how she behaves. I've got videos that show you how a dog will behave when she's ready. The discharge color, the progesterone test results, the number of days that she's been in heat, all of this thing is coming to be the perfect storm for this little girl. This really looks good. All right, so what's the technique? You need to have a glove. You need to have a lubricant. I use Vaseline. You could use olive oil. You could use butter. You don't want to use a spermicidal cream. So you could use KY jelly, but not anything that's spermicidal. So olive oil, butter, you could use motor oil. I mean, you just need a lubricant to help get things inside her. So here's the technique. So what I do is I take the girl. I want to be on a low, she's pretty small, so I want to be on a low chair so that her feet can still reach the ground, but I've got her at something like a 45-degree angle. I'm right-handed, so I want to have her on the right-hand side. So now what do? I take some, I've already cleaned her off. I take a liberal amount of, by the way, Russ is here who helps with all this stuff. You comfy, Russ? Because we've got a 20-minute sit down here. We're going to speed this video up so you don't have to see the whole thing. Well, you can see it all, but you don't have to sit there for 20 minutes. All right, so the first thing is, look at the way this dog is behaving. You see when I touch her here, she starts to kind of move things around? That is a dog that is saying, hey guys, if there's a male dog around, come see me. So you see that? That's pretty typical. All right, so now what do? I'm going to bury my complete finger, and obviously you can't see this, but I can feel inside that there's kind of folds of skin and I can feel the direction I'm going in is towards the anus at about a 45-degree angle. But you know, there's a tunnel, there's a vaginal canal there, and your finger's going to follow it. There's nothing. And by the way, she's doing this right now. She's pulsating on my finger. So I'm moving things out of the way. I'm generally feeling for a nice passage. I can get my entire finger in there. All right. So now, I've got a little bit of air above this so that I can push the semen all the way through. I don't want to leave semen behind in the tube. I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant on this just to make sure it's smooth. And there's no hurry here. If you're having problems doing this, if you've never done it before, hey, do a trial run without any semen in it, just to make sure you can get it done. All right, we're going in over the top. Don't want to go into the bladder. And we're just going to... Now, how much of this will we get in here? Well, look, this is an 8-inch rod. The physical anatomy of a Frenchie stud is about like that. That's how much a Frenchie would get in it. We'd like to get it all the way up to here. If we've got our timing right, then a dog is open, we want to get the entire rod in there. Most of the time, you're not going to do that, but it does take some playing around. When I bred her the other day, I got the entire rod into her. So I know that she can take the entire rod. She's not as open today, because I think the right day to breed her was actually 2 days ago. But here, there it is, just went in. Look at, there it is. The entire rod is in there. That is perfect. Look, if you can't get the entire rod in and you only get 2/3 of it in there, that's fine too. Okay, here we go. We're now going to slowly depress the plunger and withdraw it slowly, and all the semen's gone out of this and it's all in her. And I've got her plugged up with my finger, so the semen's only got one place to go, and gravity's helping the situation, and that's down into her uterus.
And that's why you had the extra air in the syringe, so that you didn't have any semen left in the syringe after you plunged it in.
There's about half a cc of semen that could end up in this rod, and if we didn't have some air to push it through, we'd lose some of our load. We've only got a couple of cc's to work with, so we don't want to lose 25% of it that stays inside. Look, I do have a little bit in there. There's a little bit, doesn't amount to probably, you know, 1/10 of a cc at the most. But the point here is, if you don't put some air behind it, and all you do, by the way, is you just simply turn the syringe upside down. After you pull the semen up, turn it upside down, pull it back, and get yourself twice as much volume. So now when you turn it around this way, you have an air supply above the semen. The semen gets pushed in first, and then it's followed by the air, and you know you've got all the semen's gone into the girl.
But you don't try to push the air in if you got more air.
Well, I mean, you don't want to inflate her up or anything, but I mean, I've never had a problem with it, honestly. It's, you know, the air's just going to come out, so it's really not that big a deal. There are some important points here, though, is that obviously, you know, the first thing is go above your finger. The bladder's down here. That way you can't get into the bladder. I've got to have done well over 1,000 of these, and I have never, ever, ever got remotely close to ever getting this in a bladder. I think it would be very, very difficult to do. The bladder opening's in a different direction. I just don't think you could get it done. I think you'd have to go out of your way. But look, if you end up putting the tip of this thing in the dog's bladder, the dog is not going to like you, and it's going to let you know. I mean, what did she do? She didn't do a darn thing. She just took it all in stride. So now let's see how she behaves. See this winking kind of thing? You see she moves? And I'm going to take my finger out here in about 5 minutes, and we'll see this better. But I can tell you that she's doing this pulsating, which is what we want. She's physically going like this. And every time she does this, the semen's got to go somewhere. It can't come out this way. It's going to go into a uterus. Yeah,
and the reason for keeping your finger in there now, in other words, once you inserted the semen, you continued to keep your finger in there so that
it can't come out.
And you do that for how long?
Right, so these are all good questions. So here's the problem that I see. You go to your vet, and the vet does it for you. And I don't want to bash vets, because they obviously have to know a lot about the entire gamut of looking after animals, and not just dogs, but cats and budgerigars and hamsters and whatever else. So these guys are experts, and they've obviously got this times that you absolutely should enlist a vet. But I honestly believe that you, and certainly me, can do this probably better than most vets will do. And the reason for this is that when you go to your vet's office, there's a couple of things that I don't like. The first thing is that you're introducing your dog unnecessarily to a place where sick dogs are roaming around. They've touched the floor, they've been on tables, and so I'm always pretty nervous about taking a dog to the vet because I don't want to contract. Guess what? Hospitals. There's absolutely times you've got to go to the hospital, but people get things like C. diff, you know, these nasty bacterial infections. Where do they get them from? They get them from hospitals. So I'm not one of these kooky nuts who thinks that, you know, alternative medicine and all this bahooey. But I am a firm believer that if you can do it yourself, learn how to do it, because you can probably get it done better. So you go to the vet. What does the vet do? The vet stands the dog up on the table, does the AI, They've got 5 other people out there in the waiting room. The vet tech comes in and says, someone just brought a dog in that's been run over and it's bleeding all over the office. So what does a vet do? The vet takes about 5 minutes to AI your dog, not the 20 to 30 minutes that we're going to take. So I routinely run into situations where a customer will call me up and say, hey, James, got the AI done, took him to the vet, put him in the crate, took the dog home, and there was a puddle on the floor of the vet. Does that matter? I'm not a rocket scientist. I am a scientist, but I'm not a rocket scientist. And look, if the semen's only got one place it's going to work, and that's in the uterus, if it ends up anywhere else, it's not going to work. So if you lose 2/3 of the semen, in the cage of the floor of the cage of the crate the dog's in, obviously that semen cannot swim up a leg and get into the uterus, and it's not doing us any good. It's got to stay in there. And it takes a while. This is a small dog, doesn't have a lot of room to take semen. We only collected the sperm-rich fraction, so we didn't pump this thing up with 10 cc's of material we're trying to get into her, so we are helping ourselves out from that point of view. But when I ship semen, that semen would be added with about 50% of extender to it, so they're going to have about 5 cc's to work with. And I only put in about 1.5 cc. So 5 cc's, it takes a time for that 5 cc's to soak up into a girl. All right, so you can see the technique here. She's very calm. If this is your first time, I'd have somebody with you to go ahead and just caress and make sure she doesn't want to run off. She's being exceptionally good. Some dogs can have a little fit, especially when you get started with this, especially when you stick your finger in the first time. So guess what you do? You take your time. Just let the dog know that she's not going to get hurt, and that you are, that you're there to be nice to her. And if she's wriggling around like crazy, take your finger out, let her walk around a little bit, come back to it a few minutes later and stick your finger in again. And if she doesn't like that, then do the same thing again. I promise you, I have never ever had a dog that I couldn't AI. I have had some dogs over the years that have been pretty hard to AI and been pretty wriggly. But the secret is, take your time. This semen that you just collected up, you've got a good 30 minutes to an hour before this has got to go into the dog. So it's not like this is a mad rush to get this into the dog immediately. The secret to this whole thing is to get at least that much of the rod into a small dog, at least the length of the dog's penis that you'd be using, the stud dog, which is something in the order of 4 or 5 inches, and preferably more than that, and get it to stay in the dog. That's the mechanics of it. There's no special secret sauce to this. It's just a mechanical issue. It's a question of having decent semen, which should be evaluated before you do it, collected from a dog and shipped to you in a correct manner. I'm going to talk about that here in a moment. Physically, the mechanics of getting this into the dog as far as you can. And if you look and see how far we got this into the dog, you can see that got all the way up, probably right into or next to her uterus. And then get the hole plugged. And what she's doing is she's pulsating. I'm going to help her along now. So I'm going to take my finger out. So this is the point you want to be careful. Look, if something starts coming out, guess what you're going to do? Russ, have a guess. If stuff starts leaking out, what are we going to do?
Put your finger back in.
Put your finger back in. You see, Russ has not done. You've done an AI, haven't you? You've done a few AIs for me, yeah. So, yeah, exactly. This is just all common sense. So now watch this dog. See that? Look at her. See this movement right here? I'm helping her basically pump that stuff down into the next available place, which guess what is her uterus. And so you can see, there she is. She's just reacting exactly the way that a dog that's in heat would do. Now, what happens if I see stuff coming out? Pinch it up. That's very quick. Just pinch it shut. Pinch it shut. Stick a finger back in.
Now, something our viewers didn't get a chance to see was that you gave her time before starting this to go take care of business.
Yes. Right. Yes, absolutely. So what we want here is we don't want her to have a bladder full of urine before we start this process, because she's probably not. I've never had a dog pee on me doing this, but once we're finished and we put the dog back down, she may feel the urge to urinate, and then guess what? She could flush out what we put in. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep her like this. After about 20 minutes, we're going to pop her down on her feet and make sure that nothing's coming out. And if it isn't, great, we're done. If it is, we're going to pop her back on her leg for another 10 minutes. Honestly, I recommend that you spend 30 minutes doing this. I've had dogs I've had to spend 40 minutes to an hour to get everything to soak up properly. So you don't want things to dribble out. And you don't want, when you're finished, for her to go off somewhere and run around and then go pee. So what we're going to do when we're finished with this is we're going to put her straight into a dog crate with a blanket over it, turn the lights out, and hopefully she'll go to sleep. Most dogs will not pee in a crate where they're housed. They want to be off somewhere else. So she's nicely pulsing away. Now she's getting a bit antsy here a little bit. It's time to be turned. So here's some other things that you can do. So I've got a collar on this dog. I like that because I can control the dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get her in a slightly different position. So I'm now going to take her like this. And I'm basically going to let her have a little bit relaxed in a different position. So what I've got now is I've got hold of her. I like to have a broad, either a harness is even better, or a broad collar that's not going to choke her. But basically, I can let her have relaxed in a slightly different position, and I can take a little bit of a breather too. But I can still keep her in this nice position where she really is nice and upright. So how long have we had on the video? We've got 10 minutes?
16 minutes. And
okay.
Do you have any recommendations you would like to mention if you do have a troublesome dog during the hour?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that if the dog's not being cooperating, then the first thing is if you're doing this for your first time, generally if you can have somebody else the dog knows to be down there, lay down on the floor and just stroke her and say nice things, that absolutely helps. So, if you've got a stranger like me doing this dog, that's a recipe for a dog to be uneasy, but a dog that's around people that it knows is definitely a better environment. We don't want lots of other dogs around. We're doing this in the house. We want to be in a place. Hey, this is something else. Do this in a chair, because I can tell you what, if I do this on the ground and I've got to sit in this position for 30 minutes, my back's killing me after the first 15 minutes, and I want to cut it short.
And in the shade.
Absolutely, a good point. So, today it's 70 degrees outside. I promise you, if you get this where the sunlight's on the dog's going to be panning away, not good for the dog. So it needs to be nice for you, and it certainly needs to be nice for the dog. And Peach is here. She's a good girl. She's doing really well. So she's just an easy dog to AI. But, all right, so now I'm just going to, I think I'll leave the glove on. I could take the glove off at this point. So what I typically like to do is I take a little bit of Vaseline. And I kind of close, you might get in here close, Russ. What I'm doing is I'm just getting some Vaseline, and I'm just kind of plugging the hole up, and there it is. I kind of plug the hole up. I'm not sure this really does a lot, but I just think that it just, if a little bit dribbled, it probably wouldn't dribble out as easily if there was a Vaseline plug right there. So I'm going to do that. And then I can start doing a little bit of this if I want to, so that she can kind of keep on kind of winking away at me and kind of pulling that semen back into where we want it. So, all right, so while we're waiting, so what we're going to do now is, we're like 17, 18 minutes into this. Normally at about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I'll let the dog down and make sure nothing's dribbling. So I'm going to do this a little early because I don't want this video to go on forever for you, but I really do recommend that you do spend the full 30 minutes. But we're going to do this a little early. All right, so here we go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put her down, and I'm just going to watch. And what I'm looking for is I want to make sure that I don't see anything coming out. If I do, I pinch and put up on my knee immediately. Obviously, anything that ends up on the floor is of no value to getting this dog pregnant. So, not a big dog, but not a lot of semen. She took it really well. We got a long ways in her. I don't expect anything to come out on this dog. And I think at this point, we could probably pop her in a cage. But in the interest of getting your dog pregnant and giving it the best shot, I would recommend that you take the full 30 minutes and don't rush things. Because you really don't, some of these dogs, after you let them down, they can have a little contraction and they can have an explosive discharge, and God knows how much of the semen you lost. It would not be good at all. So if you do see anything at all, you just close it up with your fingers and just pop it back up. Once you've got her up in this position here, nothing bad's going to happen. It's not going to shoot out once you're up like this, so it's unlikely. And if she is anything going on, just pinch her sharp. Just take your fingers and just close her vulva up like that. Just close her up and then give another 10 minutes. Anything comes out, give another 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, put that back down on the floor and make sure that nothing's leaking out. It's not too difficult. It really isn't. And if you do this, I think you'll be very successful. So while I've got you as a captive audience for the next few minutes, I'm just going to grab her so I can get my hands away. I'm going to take this glove off. So just to reiterate, like this product, you definitely want to, if you've got a dog on site, you don't necessarily have to do progesterone tests. You can do this based on dog behavior, color of discharge, number of days in heat. I've got videos that talk about how to get the timing right on AI, a whole separate video section. If somebody's shipping to you, then this is my patented product called Shipmate. So I've got you as an audience. I'm going to talk about this for a minute while we're doing this. So this is a temperature-controlled vacuum shipping flask that will slowly cool the semen down from room temperature over a 4.5 hour period to exactly 5 degrees centigrade. and then we'll hold it exactly 5 centigrade for up to 3 or 4 days. And the way this works is there's a microprocessor and a heater in this. And this whole container with the semen inside a whirl pack goes into a styrofoam shipping box that is surrounded by, the box has inside it, ice packs. And those ice packs would get this whole container too cold and it would ruin the semen within about 4 or 5 hours. But this thing senses the temperature in here with a little heater in here, adds just the right amount of heat to keep that temperature exactly where it wants to be. Slowly cools down over 4.5 hours to 5 degrees, holds it exactly at 5 degrees centigrade. And when the customer gets this light will be flashing green and it'll be flashing 5 times, which indicates 5 degrees centigrade. And you can actually play the entire trip back. There's a little button right here. I'm going to press it quickly. And it then shows back, there's no data, it says it's not going to show you the data, but it would basically show this back as a color with 1 second on this LED represents 1 hour of the trip. So a 24-hour trip would take 24 seconds to read back. It would start red. After 4 seconds, it would have gone through orange, yellow to green. It would then still stay green for the next 20 seconds until I open the thing up, and then it would start flashing red again because it would be back to room temperature. So I've now had, I think, 2,700 thereabouts consecutive shipments without a single failure in semen. That doesn't mean that every dog gets pregnant, but it means that every dog potentially should get pregnant if you get your timing right and you do this properly. So, should you do this yourself? Absolutely. Are you worried that you can't do it? Well, just do a practice run. I mean, you can do a practice run 3 days before you can AI the dog. Get yourself an AI rod and just make sure that you can get the sterilized. Don't use it a second time. Just these things are cheap. But just lube up, get a glove, and see if you can get it physically inside the dog. And if you can, then you know that you can get the actual semen part done. Because the only difference between the practice run and you doing it for real is pressing a plunger. And that's easy. All right, so we're going to pop her back down again. She's been a really good little doggy. I like this dog a lot. She's a really sweet little dog. So she was bred to a lilac with tan points. And she's going to have a litter of hopefully half lilacs and half blues that carry chocolate that look like her. So again, this is James Chopping, and this is www.lovemypups.com, LOVEMYPUPS.com. We have all these products. We have whelping kits. We have a novel whelping crate system. We have, which we're in the process of patenting. We have this patented product here for shipping semen. We have incubators that are great for taking puppies to and from the vet or puppies that need a little bit of extra attention. They're portable, run on 12 volts. They're on our other site, mybreedersupply.com, mybreedersupply.com. My phone number, 580-799-2873, 580-799-2873. All these things I'm talking about are not just pertain to just simply Frenchies, they pertain to dogs. So I've AI'd many dogs all the way from huge dogs, German Shepherds, all the way down to Chihuahuas using this technique. So it works on all dogs. The technique is the same. But if you have any questions, worries, or concerns, and if I can help you, regardless of whether you buy a product from us, if we can help you at any time, don't hesitate to call us, 580-799-2873, and good luck with your breed. And here she goes. She's just going to relax, and we're just going to put her in a crate. And we're just going to let her... So here's the last part about this. Let her relax for an hour. We don't want her going outside and peeing. We'd like her to be like this for a good solid hour while all of that soaks up and starts getting to where the eggs are. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.